On a mission to help vegan women in menopause lose weight so they feel happier, full of energy, and more confident, today's guest is an expert at health hacking. After turning vegan in 2016, cooking healthy meals to lose weight in a busy life was a puzzle she could not figure out. But figure it out she did. When COVID came and her other business slowed down, she decided to put her health first and figure out what would work. With renewed insights, evidence-based science, scientific proof, she created a new lifestyle and got rid of 40 pounds, of which 20 pounds were released within 2 months. She's now almost 55 and feeling better than ever. Her commitment is to women who are going through menopause. Today, you're going to hear from Claudia Kaldenbach, and she is from the Netherlands. She's going to share her insights, so stick around. You're in for quite a treat.
Are you ready to live the life you deserve? Do you want to feel vibrantly healthy and reach your optimal weight without dieting while being kind to animals and the planet? Then you're in the right place at the right time. Welcome to Plant-Based Eating for Health with your host, certified plant-based nutritionist, Kathleen Gage.
So, Claudia, it is so great to have you here. You know, you're working on a very unique angle with plant-based eating and veganism, but let's start by you sharing how you became a plant-based vegan eater.
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me, Kathleen. I really admire you, so it's so great to talk to you tonight. It all started in 2016. Our daughter was about 18 years at the time, and she wanted to eat more vegetarian during the week because she got to dislike the look of raw meat, so to say. So I told her that I would be okay with that. But it was really busy. It was in high season. And with my other business, I really have a lot to do in summer season. So I thought it's okay as long as you will do the cooking. I thought it would be good for her to become a great cook in the kitchen as well at her age. And she said, okay, Mom, let's do that. And a few days later, we were talking with our neighbor about it. And she said, oh, I might have a great book for you. It's with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's all figured out what you need to eat exactly. And it's a lot of vegetables in it. So we started cooking from that. At the first morning, we started with chocolate and raspberries. Now, I don't know about you, Kathleen, but that is a really amazing combination. So I thought I could handle these kind of foods for the rest of my life. And after a few days, we noticed, hey, that's weird. There's no meat in it. There's even no egg in it. Only once a week there was an optional in the recipe that we could have some meat or egg in it. And then we discovered that we turned vegan. So we liked the food, and we became interested in documentaries. So we watched a few of them in that first week of changing our diet habits. And then we were so shocked about what happened to the animals that we looked at each other and we said, okay, we didn't know this, but now we have decided we never go back. So that's how we turned vegan. It's all of a sudden and unexpectedly.
You know, and it's interesting because I just got through having a conversation with a gentleman that has done some of the documentaries that like Earthlings and all that, where, you know, he said it's really about letting people come at their own pace to understand what veganism is, because we assume that it happens overnight, but there's a number of steps that we take that lead up to it. And it sounded like you started with plant-based eating, and then because of the awareness, you started identifying as a vegan. Now, I know that in your business, you had a business prior to what you're doing now, and that was pre-pandemic. What were you doing before the pandemic?
Yeah, I'm still doing that. That is, I have a holiday house. I started as a bed and breakfast in 2004. And I extended that to a holiday house for 3 till 4 families, where people can have a great time with each other. And we're specialized in people with kids, so we have all kinds of toys there. And it's a real cozy family house, also pretty sustainable, so pretty energy neutral as for what it's using. And it's lovely to make people happy.
And where are you located, Claudia?
I'm located I live in Dronten in the Netherlands. And that's in Flevoland. There used to be water. It's really pioneers that live here. It used to be the water, and the Dutch people made land out of it. So it's the new land, so to say. And in fact, I see it as a big island within the Netherlands with all the other areas around it. So it's pretty in the center of the Netherlands, about an hour drive of Amsterdam.
And I bet it's beautiful. Now, with your holiday house, is that like a bed and breakfast?
I started as a bed and breakfast, and then we changed it into a group accommodation. So now we have about 16 beds in it. So really 4 big family rooms for people with 4 or 5 beds per room. Is in Flevoland. It's all it's all nature there.
Okay, wonderful. So people could come and they could have a nice holiday. They could take hikes in the woods. Now, you turned vegan in 2016, and you actually dropped some weight from going vegan, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Tell us about that. Yeah, tell us about that and how now you work with women who are actually struggling with menopause.
Yeah. So I noticed that I lost. So it was a 50-day program I did with my daughter with that cooking book. It was really time intensive to cook. So sometimes she was in the kitchen for 2 hours, really complex menus. And I lost about 16 till 20 pounds at that time in 50 days. But I didn't change my eating habits. So you know that turning vegan doesn't mean that you are healthy automatic. So I still used meat replacements. I still ate chips and chocolate, processed food still. So I didn't know that there was a healthier way of eating. So after we stopped that 50 days and our daughter got back to school, it was me that had to do the cooking again. So I struggled really to veganize, as I call it, my menu. So I took what we normally ate and tried to make it vegan. So I didn't know the more healthier approach of the whole food plant-based is what I discovered a few years later. So that's a terminology that we in our country don't use. So now it is more trending. So now I see some articles around it. But at first, the only word I knew that was vegan and vegetarian, and not whole food plant-based philosophy.
So how did you come to start working with women going through menopause? Because I know that when I went through menopause a few years ago, I had a pretty tough time. I had mood swings, but my eating was horrendous at that time. I was about 50 pounds heavier than I am now, and I was not a plant-based eater. I was not vegan. I was definitely a carnivore. So for women who are really struggling with menopause and with all that comes with it, how much does a plant-based diet, a good, solid vegan plant-based diet, really help them?
Yeah, I think if you eat crap, you will feel crap. So the good thing about natural plant-based food is that it's filled with nutrition, and with even science hasn't figured out all that's in it. So the phytofactors, if I said correctly, is also something that's good for health. And you really notice if you eat a lot of vegetables and a lot of variation that you feel better, and especially if you lose weight. then you feel that your mood is improving. You don't have that brain fog anymore. But for me, it was a decision first to put my health first. That came when I was 53. I promised myself that would be the year that would be the best year ever. My father died from a brain cancer at that age. So I always had that age in mind at something with an emotional baggage, so to say. So I promised myself I want to do better than my parents. My mother died at the age of 66. She had breast cancer 7 years later. She had another severe cancer, couldn't be healed. So health has always been important in my life, but I never knew, I never learned how to take proper care of nutrition in my body, like so many other people that have no knowledge at all about it. And when COVID came and there was the news, and I listened to the news, and I noticed that people with obesity and with chronic illness, those are the two major risk groups that would get severe trouble when they were infected with COVID. And at that moment, I realized I belong to both of those groups. But I've been taking medicine for high blood pressure for 30 years. And I didn't consider myself chronically ill because it was so normal to take the tablets every day that there comes a point that you take it for granted and you don't think about it anymore. So it was a realization, oh, wait a minute, I am chronically ill and I am dieting my entire life and yo-yoing and gaining weight and losing weight, gaining weight. And during the years, I set my standards higher and higher. So first it was that limit, and then I added 20 pounds extra, and then my new limit was that, because I didn't know how to turn it around. So I rationalized it. But at that moment, it was so clear to me that now I had to find a way. So I was determined to go on a quest and to discover what would work, because I couldn't imagine that there was nothing to be done. Because now for the first time in my life, I had the time not to put my business first, but to put my health first. So I was dedicated to put my teeth in it, so to say, and not let go until I found what really was the solution for me. And at that time I was, of course, still in menopause at the age of 53. And that's why I relate so much to women of my age and going to that period, that it's even harder to lose weight because you gain fat where normally you didn't see it.
Right.
Yes,
well, it's interesting what you said about that you came to accept the taking the pill for your it was high blood pressure that you had. That it was normal. It had reached a point where it was normal. And about 2 months ago, I actually broke my wrist. It's okay now. I had physical therapy, I had surgery. But as I was going through the whole process where I was taken in an ambulance to the hospital and I was in emergency and then they scheduled the surgery, it was so interesting. I'm 67 years old and they would ask, are you on blood thinners? And I said, no. And what medication are you taking? I said, I'm not. And they said, that's not normal. And it's like, actually, it is normal, but we've normalized being ill. And so I love what you're doing, because a lot of people have gotten to a point where it's normal for them to take a handful of pills every day, to have high blood pressure, to have heart conditions, to have obesity. And we've come to accept that instead of saying, wait a minute, how can I take control of my health? So with women who are really wanting to turn their health around, what would you say to them, and how do you work with your clients on helping them to understand that they really have more control than maybe the media has? Like in the United States, we're one of 2 countries that actually allow pharmaceuticals to advertise on TV. And they spend billions upon billions of dollars to convince people that they have diseases that maybe they don't, but the subconscious is so strong that they start believing it. And so they need the medicine, and it's crazy. So what do you do to help women to understand that they can take control of their health, and what are a few steps that they can take?
Yes. Well, first of all, I know exactly what it's like, the trying to diet and not being able to lose the weight. Well, first of all, I make it clear that there is a worldwide pandemic going on regarding obesity that started in the 70s, 80s, that kind of period. It's shocking if you see how the stats have been growing all over the world, and that more than 50% or 70% of people are overweight. That's our new normal. And I was shocked to discover that. And also that our calorie intake, our food intake has gone through the roof with empty food, with food that is processed and food that is dead. And we are not filled with that kind of food. So what I do is I make women aware that the beauty of plant-based food is that you can eat a lot, and it's nutrient dense, and most of it is calorie low. So you have to stop thinking in calorie, but you have to think in volume in your body and nutrition for your body. And still, people that turned plant-based are still struggling with should they focus on carbs or low carbs and high fat and that kind of stuff. And I say there's principles, several evidence-based insights that I used and then combined it. And that worked to burn fat without exercise and without feeling hungry. And one of the first principles, I call it the Alive Blueprint. So the letters are an acronym. So the A is that it should be in alignment with your values. So the moment that you're vegan, you're already used to eat according to your values, to live a life according to your values. And if you put your health as one of your goals, it's so more easy to stick to a specific way of living. So if it's really a matter of life and death, so like it was for me, and you really feel you really make a decision. That's all that's all you need to take. That you really need to be motivated to start that journey. And the first thing that I will do with women who I work with is to get them results fast, because the weight gain has gone over years and years and years.
Right.
But you lost the hope. A lot of women gave up hope, especially in menopause, because they know they have fat where they don't want it. So my first goal with them is to have them lose 2 till 4 pounds, so that they notice there's a change in their body and that it is possible. And once they have achieved that result, then they are able to believe that it will be possible this time. So that's one of the main pillars that I start with. Then the L is from leave the processed food out of it. So avoid processed food anytime. The I is from intermittent fasting. Just 3 meals a day. Natural food, and you have to eat enough. A lot of people, I also see a lot of women have a busy life and they forget to eat. They eat too little. I have a client now. She ate far too little, really active life. And now she, last week, I had a conversation with her and she said, I was so full in the weekend, I thought I wouldn't lose weight. But that was when she lost weight.
Wow.
Wow. So it feels so counterintuitive.
Yes, it does.
But you really need to nourish your body, because the moment that you think you will deprive yourself from food and from calories, then your body thinks, oh, wait a minute, it's survival time. Let's hold on to some fat in our body because we never know when we will get it back.
Right, right. Well,
and that's how the body is built.
And you talked about processed foods, and I think that, as people become aware of what's really going on, there's a really good book called Salt, Sugar, Fat by Michael Moss, and it's how the food manufacturers have actually created the foods to get us addicted. And a lot of people don't realize that, but we have been conditioned to get addicted to certain foods, and cheese is one of them, the processed foods, the macaroni and cheese, with all the salt in the food. And, I would encourage people when they go to the grocery store to take a look at how much processed food there is compared to whole food, to natural food. It's shocking. It's shocking. And then when you look at somebody's cart, you can look at somebody's cart and you can tell what their health is going to be. Because it's like the more processed it is, the chips, the sodas, all that, the more unhealthy they're going to be. And you mentioned about obesity. It's so interesting because I've actually studied that too, to notice that it really started when TV dinners became a big deal. In the United States, it was all about convenience because now we had the mom and the dad working. And so they needed convenient meals, and they started with TV dinners. And it seemed like, that was an innocent solution. But that was the beginning of the whole pandemic, like you said, epidemic, if you will, of obesity, because not only is about 70% of the population, even 80% overweight, then we have obesity, then we have morbidly obese people. And it's just, it's in some ways we can't blame people for what happened, but then in other ways, once we become aware, we have choices every single day. Because when you look at, like with the pandemic, with COVID, one of the things that oftentimes people don't pay attention to is when they show the increase in numbers of people who are going into the hospital, pay attention to what the person looks like when they're laying there in the bed. Chances are it's going to be somebody who is obese. And, I'm not minimizing the situation by any stretch of the imagination. That is not what this comment is about. This is truly about bringing awareness to the fact that we do have more control than we've been led to believe, because the media is out to frighten us. They want to frighten us because they're run by large corporations. And, it's interesting. I had a conversation with Jane Velez Mitchell, who does Jane Unchained podcast show. And we were talking about how the media is actually paid and bought for by corporations. That video for a short period of time was taken off of YouTube. They said we went against their policies. Yeah. And the thing is that sometimes we will speak the truth and we get shut down. But the truth is that if you change the way you're eating, if you're a whole food eater, if you get rid of all animal and dairy, not only is it good for your health, it's like a holistic approach to health of the animals, health of you, health of the environment. So what would be with somebody who would start working with you, what would be the first thing, if they could take one action today, what would that action step be besides reaching out to you? But, and I want to remind people that you're listening to the Plant-Based Eating for Health show. This is Kathleen Gage, and I am talking with Claudia Kaldenbach. And did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, pretty good.
Okay, pretty good. Got my American accent going on. Yeah. And Claudia works with women who are going through menopause, who want to change their energy level, their fitness level, their health level. And so just reach out to Claudia. We'll put your contact information in the show notes. But what would that one step be that somebody could take, Claudia?
Yeah, so I think that's the good thing is that if you eat just 3 meals a day, because we are surrounded in an area, there's food all around us. So a lot of people, they are eating the entire day. They're having snacks in between, and they're never giving their body a time to recover. Mm-hmm. So I believe that the intermittent fasting, that you will eat 2 or 3 meals. So for me, I advise my clients 3 meals a day. So there are even people that are doing it only once a day or twice a day. I would not be able to do that. So 3 times a day works perfectly. And then within a certain amount of time during the day, you will eat. And then after a certain time, you will not eat until it's time for the breakfast. So I take my breakfast as late as possible in the morning. And early in the evening, I will have my last dinner. And then 3 meals a day. So it's just planning your food and putting yourself first is actually the red thread through my entire approach.
Excellent. Excellent.
Because if you don't plan, you will stand before the refrigerator and you think, what's for dinner tonight? And then you make mistakes in your choosing, because then your willpower is low, and then you will go for a quick fix, and then you will not make the healthiest choices.
Right.
So planning is one of the secrets of success, if you ask me, and that is plan your week ahead, plan your day ahead, and just be prepared that when you're going out, that you have your own lunch with you, so that you never are dependent of the bad alternatives that are out there. Because a lot of people that you see on television that lost a lot of weight, they gained it all back because they're still in that jungle of the seduction of the food and the wrong food. It's sometimes really hard to find an alternative, a really healthy meal that you can have on the go.
Absolutely. I love the way you said that, the seduction of the food, because food is designed to seduce us to consume it, without a doubt. And, with our commercials here in the States, it's crazy because they'll do a fast food restaurant. And then right after that, they do something to get rid of the upset stomach or the heartburn. And it's like, do you people not connect the dots? And obviously people don't. People are mindless in the way that they're consuming their food. And that's one of the reasons that our health situation is where it's at. That is a fact of life. And with this show, I love bringing people like you to my community because I want to raise awareness so people can live a passionate, vibrant, energetic life. So Claudia, in closing, what are your final thoughts for people? And what's the one social media that people can reach you at that you like more than anything? Because I use Facebook, I use Twitter, I use LinkedIn, I use Instagram, TikTok. And if I was to say one that they could reach me at, it would probably be LinkedIn. So for you, what's the one social network that people can reach you at? And what are your closing thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm at several social media. Most active, I'm at Facebook. I have there a free group with like-minded people, all vegan women that are on a plant-based weight loss journey. I have a weekly live and I share a weekly recipe. So it's really practical. That's who I am. And so I would invite people to find me there. You can also find me as Claudia Kaldenbach. That's my private Facebook. But you can also Google me at Claudia Kaldenbach, and then you will find probably where I'm at. So you will be able to connect me. And I would love to hear questions of people and where I can inspire people. I'm like you. I think it's a lot about education and sharing what I've learned. So tonight I did a masterclass about what I've learned about the connection between heart disease and plant-based food. And there's a lot to be learned, and what food you could use to prevent heart disease. So that's really what I geek about, is that if it's evidence-based upon the research that I found online, evidence-based on my own experience, and the other evidence-based part is that we test and tweak with what works for my clients. So to fit into their life, because every person is different.
Well, it's interesting because you just reminded me of something about another thing that they advertise on TV is medication for erectile dysfunction. And with heart disease in men, often the precursor to a heart attack, and this is not 100% of the time, but a lot of times the precursor is erectile dysfunction because it's constraint of the blood vessels. And so if they're having problems down there, they're going to have problems with their heart. And, and so women who are in menopause, who have a partner, a male partner who is having some challenges with that, you might want to look at that, because if they're having that kind of problem, they may be ready to have a heart attack. And, this is not meant to scare people, but it is meant to scare people. It's meant to be a wake-up call that you do have a much greater impact on your health through the food choices than we've been led to believe. We have been led to believe that we don't have a choice. We have been led to believe that we are victims of circumstances. That is not true. We do have a choice, and people like Claudia are making a difference. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Plant-Based Eating for Health show. This is Kathleen Gage encouraging you. Go out, live vibrantly, eat healthy, and make a difference. Have a great day.
Thank you for your commitment to an ethical life through plant-based food choices. The kind of choices that are kind to your body, the environment, and most of all, animals. Be sure to leave a review and rating of the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show.